champ is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. Our first team is waiting. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
All right, man.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
Yes, he is the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. And here today, we're bringing you back inside the locker room, talking about topics in and around the game. So today, we're going to talk about a little controversy happening in the college realm. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure you couldn't get away from it. I mean, I'm going to ask MH about this one. But Michigan. Michigan is in the news for some we'll call them allegations, right? Guilty and innocent until you're proven guilty. It's supposed to be. So little allegations in and around the Michigan football program that's affecting John Harbaugh, man. So, MH, you ready to do this, man?
I am.
So I'm gonna start off with this. This just came across. I know he's doing some prep, but have you been hearing that Michigan's been called America's team? And I just want to know how you feel about that.
Depending on who you asking. And if it comes to controversy and things that are associated with Michigan athletics, then if maybe that's why you call it America's team, then maybe that's why it's America's team.
All right, the jury's out, man. But that's kind of what
Fab Five, and then Chris Webber don't talk to Jalen Rose anymore, or maybe they made up. I don't know, and that's part of it. And now, obviously, we were talking about. Okay, so there's a lot of there's a lot of legs to Michigan and NCAA controversy that seems to be consistent with that program in Ann Arbor. So if that's what makes it America's team, then so be it. Go ahead and take that towel.
They could be America's college team. That's the emphasis we should put into it, right? Because let you tell it the most that the Cowboys are America's team. But anyway, I digress. I want to jump back.
Have you ever been to Ann Arbor or the Big House?
I've never been to the Big House. That's one of the things that need to get that off the bucket list, man. I've been wanting to go to the game. I think it is referred to. Yeah. And definitely want to see it in the Big House. Had one opportunity and just things fell through. But whether it's the big game or just a game there, definitely want to get into that. Because it's back to comparisons, right? It is one of the largest stadiums, if not in college, but in a lot of things. So then you go to Jerry's World. So we started to see a lot of similarities, man. So maybe they got no.
One quick, and before we get into the real topic, I have just a real quick story about Michigan. So I love the way Michigan, if everybody knows the way they kind of run in the field. I don't know if it's like side or end zone or cattle corner, however they run onto when they first take the field, and they have that big banner. I don't know what it says. I don't know if it's Big Blue or whatever it says, right? And I think it's the cheerleaders that are in formation and hold it up and all that, and all the players tap it, right, when they kind of run through that and hit the banner and keep going to the sideline, whatever the case like that. I like those little traditions, right? So so I went to school at University of Northern Colorado, right? So one day, for some reason, they had a similar banner, or they just had a thing like that, right?
Right.
I was like, oh, that's cool. So I'm we running out for a game. I don't know who we were playing. And I was like, man, I love tradition. I'm playing college football, Division One AA, but I got a scholarship to play, so I'm feeling really good. So I jump up and smack the banner, but I don't think the cheerleaders really expected that, but they kind of lost balance. I don't know if they crashed, but I know something happened just by everybody's reaction in the crowd, and it wasn't about us running out. We probably won one game that year, so there was a reaction piece. And the rest of my career at Northern Colorado, there was never that banner up, and the cheerleaders never held it again. So apparently something happened. I don't know if anybody of my teammates know exactly what happened because I didn't look back. I know there was a struggle.
If anybody has recollection or footage on this,
that might have been the injury.
Mama Pops. Right. Well, no, I think one of the guys, like a lineman or somebody from Michigan, got hurt.
Doing the same thing? All right, so I don't feel as bad.
No,
Well, he
it's
was on the
not.
team, but this young lady was not on the team, or not on the football team, I should say. So um, hopefully she's okay and forgives me at one point. Uh, so
Bringing it back.
yeah.
So Michigan is a place of true tradition, right? Like, I mean, that's in a sense why you have Harbaugh there, right? He played there. I think even his dad even coached there at one point, during their journey. So it's just really a place pride and tradition. And so, them getting him as a head coach, it just seemed like it was a right fit. And he's just been really like playing that role for a very long time. And there's always kind of been pushing the buttons. You've even heard about like some recruiting things about, who he's maybe bringing in the locker room or where they've traveled, like they've taken the team to like different places. So it's just, from the recruiting standpoint, man, now, especially with the transfer portal and NIL, like you got to be on your game, right? Any kind of moves you can make. But with it being like a story, rich in tradition, kind of strong academia, right? Like a lot of people forget that. And, I'm reminded by a lot of folks at times that it is strong in academia as well. But, with that strong tradition, where's the honor code? Where's the, so when these kind of things kind of happen, it just kind of makes you think, where are we at as far as football, crossing the lines, and just, honor and tradition. And I think that's one of the big things that they're talking about, because there's a lot of scandal that happens around or has been happening around football. But it doesn't seem that the university as a whole, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the narrative I'm getting is like the university is fighting back against the massive, right? So the whole thing is like Michigan versus everybody is the shirts that they came out with during this last game. So that's the kind of stance that I get, is like, they're like feeling like they're getting done unjust. So, I mean, what is your like overall feeling with what kind of the narrative has been spun, or at least from a Michigan standpoint?
So when you say Michigan, you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, the administration or the academic part is on the same board as the athletic, or there's a little division there. What
I'm saying they're all supporting Harbaugh. Like, I think they're like, because they were supposed to. So, all right, it started with someone that led something, right? So someone has said what they had said was that he was stealing signs, right?
Connor
Well,
Stallions. So unpaid, or I guess he was paid at some point, assistant coach named Connor Stallions was stealing signs from opponent's team. And I think the whole thing was it creates an unequal balance because you're not supposed to be live game scouting in season. Now, you can get film, and that's kind of an equal playing field. But if you go to the extent or to what it seems like he went to of stealing signs, and that can allegedly that can kind of create an unfair advantage within your opponents in the conference. And for a lot of me, like, and not to cut you off, and I'm gonna go back to what parts of it is like, what does that really do? I know Coach Prime was quoted like, yeah, you can know everything, but you still got to stop them. It is football. Like, you can kind of know what they're doing, but you still have to to execute the play. There's a lot of variables with any football play that happens for it to be successful.
Super fast.
But with that same vein, you have a little bit of an edge there. You have a higher chance of being successful, and we know the rich tradition and the Harbaugh's or the Michigan hadn't had recent success against Ohio State program, and you kind of have to keep your job with Michigan football by winning the game. And if you're not winning the game, the alumni base and the university is like, we got to win this game, right? And so recently they've been more successful, and you put two and two together. Is that a reason why they've been successful? Is knowing some signals and some things,
and that's tough,
their
man.
opponents, like, maybe not. I don't know.
So how do you make that, like, and we've both been in and around the game in certain aspects, right? Like from playing to, watching as a fan to, some coaching aspects of it, just being on the sidelines and understanding that. You get film of the team. Like, that is a part of it. Like, they have to, all the way from high school. Like, I remember there was one coach who had to, on Thursday, leave practice walkthroughs early because he had to drive halfway. This is before digital says so. One of the coaches had to drive halfway to swap the tapes with the other team. and then you get to, so it's like, it's always, there's film, everybody can watch a game. So like, back to your point of how big a deal is it, right? Like, is it because it's some kind of clear cut written rule that says you can't do it? And then like, it almost goes back to the brotherly push or the tush push, whatever you're calling it, right? Like, is it not fair because you can't stop it, or you're deeming some, like, what's the rule? And I think that's one thing we should have did, I didn't do, but like, I think there's ambiguity about what the rule is, right? As far as
I think the rule is pretty black and white. Like, you can't in live game scout. So if somebody's on your staff, you can't send staff to a future opponent to watch live games, right?
So that's football. Then that's football, right?
That's NCAA, and I think that might be
because basketball, and we would have to ask your brother too, like, because basketball coaches go to other games and they're actually watching the game. So like,
yeah, I mean, I do wonder, like, if that's more of like a budget type thing, right? So Michigan probably could afford to send whoever anywhere, right?
Right.
And that's not the same for Northern Colorado. Now those two teams may only play each other once, and whether Northern Colorado knew every sign and every play that was going to happen to Michigan, chances are Northern Colorado is not going to stop Michigan, although they know what's coming. Like that, I mean, chances are. But when it comes to a Michigan and Ohio State, or Michigan and Penn State, teams that have equal resources, things like that, yeah, maybe you have a little bit of advantage that way. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like,
I don't know either.
Because like, look, bro, like, even, I mean, to the fact that like a lot of people, when you go to things, they're like putting up the black curtain behind the thing, and a lot of them have those calls.
But they do a whole lot too.
There's a guy that sits on the sidelines and just be like, throwing up gang signs. Multiple guys, so you don't know
random signs. And I think all this could be fixed if they just went to the NFL system and just did the green dot and whatever. a lot of this could be fixed. But again, like a lot of things with college, that's part of the pageantry, I think, is the signals and all those type of things. My thing is this: playing college football. I wasn't in this era where it's hyper tempo and everything is fast and everything is simple, or speed. But I was at the time where people started to speed up and you started to do no huddle and people started to signal things in from the sideline. I just remember playing corner that I'm getting a signal from my coach. Okay, then I'm looking at the formation. Oh, this is the one dude on the scouting report that is over me now, so let me pay attention. Oh, he just motioned over. Wait, there's a lot of moving parts, and they go, before they snap the ball to if I had that much of advantage, sure, I might have made a play or more too, but there's just I am still a 19 or 20-year-old kid that has to digest all this at one time. Now, you did say Michigan is academia, so maybe there's smarter players there than myself. But I think they're 19 and 20, right? And so how much of an edge does that really give a player when it comes to just really executing what it's taught? Because people just don't execute normal calls. So whether you knew what the team was doing or not, how do you really execute that? I don't know. I have a lot of opinions about.
And that is the toughest one, man, right? Because like there's times where you get on a run with. I remember being in games. It was like, we're gonna keep running this till they stop it.
Facts. And then everybody stadium knows coming.
Everybody like, yo, this, and you can't stop it. It's anyway. So that's the toughest part for me, right? So, okay, whether it's a fair advantage or not, that's a whole nother debate. Maybe we'll definitely bring that to the live show.
Yeah, bring that to the chat.
What? And yes, and definitely want to hear your thoughts and comments to all of our listeners. But so, all right, so. Now, it allegedly happened. It wasn't Harbaugh that executed, or he had knowledge of it. So that's the whole thing, right? Where like now it's Harbaugh's getting punished because it's like, as a head coach, everything falls up or runs up directly to you, right? So you're responsible for knowing what you're the captain, right? You need to know what all the shipmates are doing. And if stuff kind of, falls awry one way or the other, it's up to you to kind of, clean house or rectify it or handle it in such a situation. So once it was brought up, it just seems like it was aggressively pushed by the Big Ten to kind of do something, right? Instead of letting the investigation take course. Like, so there's a lot of speculation where it's like, oh, the Big Ten are going after them, but like, why would they kind of go after him when he's going to be one of the people that's in the the final, the playoffs, right? Like, and the biggest thing you want is your conference to be recognized,
Yeah.
when these things are going. So it's just a lot of confusion going on for like what the motivation is for them to, like, the dude was on a plane. They was literally on a plane to go to the game. And it was like one of those things that we talk about, like he got a tweet or TMZ found out and let him know that he was suspended when he touched down. And then like for them to like, aggressively change. We talk about how that can throw off. I think we've even talked about that for Super Bowl, right? When old dude's son, had got into the thing, like how that affects the team.
Sure.
So it's a lot in there, and just trying to understand the motivation for why one would push it and not let it do its like due diligence to go through what was wrong. Because all of it is just alleged, right? They don't have anything where they said, no, I saw it with my own eyes, right? Like, so none of it's really set in stone.
Well, I mean, they got decent things where you can put two and two together,
Like the dude getting paid on his
and he's
his
buying
Venmo
multiple
account.
buying multiple tickets, on
game.
both sides in the game, and whatever elaborate Excel. That's the one thing that Connor style is, if you can help me out in Excel, I'll pay for that assistance as well. Because it seems like he had an elaborate, kind of a Excel kind of whatever the setup was. I mean, this is a former military individual person that served in our country. So I'm sure he has a skill set that was developed over time that he implemented into this situation. But I think, much like anything in today's world, if you get enough negative press or pressure on you from a Big Ten perspective, just from the common, the general public, or from the opposing coaches in your conference, I'm sure you have to look at things a little bit more aggressively than maybe you would in other situations.
So the funny thing was they did like breaking some of this down where they showed the one dude was actually on the sidelines.
Oh, I'm talking about the Ray-Bans with the blue
with the
blue light. I'm talking about, and next to the DC looking at the signal, like,
looking at the signal. Like,
okay, let's check this. That's toss. Run that. Yeah.
They probably had a little the little camera in the spy glasses or some shit like that. But he was
going on.
That was a lot. No, that definitely was a lot. So anyway, all this momentum, so it was a 3-day, I think, suspension. They filed for like an injunction or whatever legal term it is to like not let it happen. They got that decline, and now he's going to get his day in court. But before that day in court, we'll jump into that. What is your thoughts about the interim coach? What's his name? Coach Moore? What? Because you got to talk about that, right? Because I don't know if he's been memed. I haven't had a chance to like go through that since Saturday and all things.
If he hasn't, he's definitely
it's happening
on the way.
It's coming.
It definitely is.
So what are your thoughts on that?
What's his name again? I'm gonna make sure I get his name right, because
is Sharon?
Yeah, he's a brother, so I don't want to disrespect.
And that's the thing too. That's why I said Coach Moore, because you know what I do. I butcher names. That's my role here.
And I'm all about the elevation of us when it comes to coaching jobs.
And that's the thing, right? Like, he has been kind of, before this incident, really like someone to watch, right? Like, he's next up in line, the things he's doing, to hopefully get him a head coaching opportunity, right? So that's one of my things, right? Because it's tough. Like, I'm happy for him.
I'm very happy for him. So he's the offensive coordinator, correct? That was his position before being an interim head coach and having this opportunity. And it was a big game, and it kind of happened. I think Jim Harbaugh's is the morning of, it seemed like,
on the flight there. Yeah.
Against Penn State. On the flight there, as you mentioned. Yeah, hey, you're going to sit this one out, or at least the rest of the regular season, and y'all go win a game. And Coach was very emotional. But I guess I can imagine you being emotional, that this is your opportunity. You've been something that you've been kind of waiting for and probably praying for. And this just happens out of no one, and you're I don't know how those interim works. I don't know if it's Coach Harbaugh,
chooses, or if it's already set.
Yeah, if it's his athletic director choice or however. So I'm sure he's like, hey man, I'm very appreciative and grateful for the opportunity to now have his name biggest game of the year for Michigan out in public, and his face and all that. I'm sure that's huge for him in his career. In that people already know who he is. Obviously, he's an offensive coordinator, but it's a different level when you're the head coach and you got to do the post game interviews and all those type of things. So, huge shout for them, and maybe that's the case why he was ugly crying on for beating Penn State.
It was so bad.
It's funny,
and that's
I want to thank the Lord.
Oh, yeah. Man, I love you, bro. Like, it almost sounded like, if you have it. All right, I don't take it there.
Because one day we're gonna be at a certain level. And somebody's gonna have a mean of us because we're gonna be hit with emotions at some point. I really believe that. So let me not talk about somebody in their moment because I know a moment is coming. But dang, that was funny.
Well, I can only hope that moment comes and I'm prepared because I've been working towards that. You know
like it is, but if you think about all the work that you put in for that, you just got a good win. You like, God is good, man. Thank you. You know what? Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna say that. No telling who I would think in that moment, right? So yeah.
I want to thank it, man. And these players, man, this program is everything.
It's the best alumni.
Hey.
Definitely Howard for that Chili's dinner. Like, golly. Like, that boy thanking everybody.
Everybody. Yeah. So, congratulations. And I hope he only continues to grow from that, like, and shine from that, man. Because, like, that's the thing, too, right? Because we're seldom giving that opportunity,
It's a Big Ten.
Come on, Big Ten, national game after all the rhetoric, man. Like, that's big. And that he handled it. Because we already know about when we talk about preparing for a game, like when we're athletes are of routine, like we're most successful long as we have that routine. And that shit starts from practice. That's all we do. Even to Thursday walkthrough is just like, okay, line up, who's on kick, who's on safe, who's on this. So you're routinely doing that stuff. So for him to jump in and do that, like what he did it was mad disrespectful, man. They didn't even throw the ball the second half.
Your man's probably worried about a whole lot of, and now people ask you, Coach, we want to take a timeout here or not? Before, he was just going over his calls. So
that's it.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Coach Moore.
There it is, man. So shout out to Coach Moore. And hey, back to I think an earlier statement that you made, right? Being in the media, like there's no really such thing as bad media. There's just a very thin line of bad media. If you're hurting someone, right, then that's the only thing I think is bad. If you're in the face, getting talked about, live it up. Congratulations, moving on from there.
Right.
So now his case is supposed to come up Friday. So he's saying he's going to be at the case, and with them glasses, those glasses he has, man, be having me cracking up, man.
Coach Harbaugh.
Coach Harbaugh. But he's going to be there. I don't know why, because it's not like they're going to ask him to testify. I think they're just going to go through like whatever the procedures are to see if he can get an extension or just have that whatever the charges were removed, so he can kind of finish the case.
Now, a question. This to me always like obviously athletes and people in sports are just a small blip of what society is and normal. So I don't want to divide the two. I never want to divide the two in that situation, but it always is interesting to me that tax money and all those type of things are paid to. Like, why is he going to court? Like, what is the legal part of it that's coming up? For lack of knowledge on my end, I just don't know. Like, hey man, if he's suspended in Big Ten, whatever the case is, and that's an unfair advantage, then
how does that go to the general public, right? Like,
just go sit down. Like, do we got to go to? He got to sit in court and have a stenographer draw his face? Like, come on, man. Like, is it that serious? Maybe it is. I know college football and sports is really big in the country.
That's the thing. He's not broken a law, right? So the court
he's going like a state employee or like what's
that's the only thing that I can think of, right? But even if he's a state employee, the NCAA, the Big Ten is not a state regulated thing because the Big Ten covers wherever the Big Ten's at, right? So you have schools in different jurisdictions. So that is a great point, and I do not have that answer. That is a little.
I remember I've seen the update. I'm like, we got some guests that would kind of.
We need to call Protect Our Athlete. We need to call Mr. Sabar's Law. I'm like, what's going on?
Put us on game. But when it was like court hearing, I'm like, what's Why? Maybe I don't.
Hey, that is the
Maybe
question. Why?
like it may be cheating, sit down, or whatever the case is. Maybe there's. And
Gene
we
probably
touched
got
on
an
it.
answer for us. We
Yeah,
need to hit Gene up
I
too.
mean, we touched on it a little earlier. Maybe it's a situation with money and all those type of things that maybe yeah.
But I think you hit home too, right? Because he is a state employee, right? Like, and like what that kind of regulations would do. And then I don't even know if it's like contractual law, right? Like
Yeah.
if someone's stopping him from, because I don't know if he doesn't get
Maybe that's
paid.
okay.
You know,
Maybe that's
so
this is a suspension part and maybe wrongfully suspended and all those type of things. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
so he can go into like
There you go.
contract, and
There
that'll
you go.
go.
There you go, EJ. There you go.
My man. So, barring all of that, man, just to bring it back, where do you think is, no matter the outcome, right? Do you think Harbaugh's, because like this is not the first thing, right? Like Harbaugh's been getting like messed with last year. I think there was something that they were messing with him about, and I don't know if it was recruiting things that he was allegations or something that he got in trouble for. Or do you think he's on that like tilt where it's like, okay, all right, because he was almost going to leave Michigan. Like they were wondering if they want to get the contract done and things like that. Do you think it's time for him to leave? Because there's a couple of things that have been mentioned with the firing of coach and who I'm just who I'm talking about in Texas. Um, what's his damn name? But anyway, Texas
Oh,
A&M.
Texas A&M. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jimbo
Texas A
Fisher.
Jimbo.
Mhm.
How the hell you forget fucking Jimbo? Anyway, so Jimbo just got released from his tootie. So like, oh, does he want to go to the SEC? Right, like bigger pockets, a whole different, like so big that they didn't even care about how much they owed him. They just fired him because he wasn't doing what they needed to do. So you think he would go there, and then some people said the Raiders opportunity if that becomes available, which
Yeah.
that was brought up before McDaniels came here. Jim was in that kind of conversation before. So what are your thoughts about that? You think he leaves?
I mean, I feel like Coach Harbaugh wherever he's at every 2 years is always rumored to the next portion. And I think at minimum he's always been successful. Now maybe he rubs certain people the wrong way, I guess,
Right.
in some ways. Maybe his own staff or team or whatever, based on stories in the past. But he does win, right? He was successful with University of San Diego. I played against him in one of his teams there. He was really good. So they were successful there. He was successful at Stanford. He was successful with the 49ers, and he's been successful with Michigan. So uh, he's going to be successful wherever he goes. It
Mhm.
seems like a really good football coach and a program builder. Um, maybe he wants to go back into the NFL or have that opportunity back in the NFL, or whether it's locally or wherever he would be. I have no clue on those things, but it seems like much like a lot of people in the world, I would say. You've been at a certain place, you accomplish some things that you want to accomplish on your own goal sheet, and you start looking at the next kind of challenge, and maybe that's something that he's looking to do. I don't know. He's beat Ohio State. He hasn't won a national championship, but he looks like he's getting really close to it now, and maybe that's something that he wants to look for. And
So I
maybe
was going to
Michigan
jump
wants
to
to go in a
something.
different way. Maybe they
Okay,
want to
so
go in a different
different route or different.
route. Yeah, I don't know.
So you brought up the hasn't won a national championship. So in the rankings, he's just been bumped over Ohio State. So he's number 2. Well,
Yeah,
Michigan's number 2.
just released.
Um,
Yeah.
yep, just released. So Michigan's number 2. Georgia number 1, and Ohio State's number 3. So now that's in his purview. You know what I mean? So is that something like he pushed towards that goal? And I mean, Georgia's a tough one right now. I don't know who's. I mean, I guess if he's
You
still in
know,
those signs, maybe.
I do wonder. I mean, and it's weird for Georgia to be currently undefeated,
Mhm.
back-to-back national champions. They haven't really got a lot of press this
At
year
all.
for whatever reason, and
And I
that
was thinking the
seems
same thing.
odd. But I do wonder. And again, we talk about numbers, and somebody's looking at numbers. Whether it's NCAA, college football playoffs, Big Ten, SEC, people are looking at ratings and numbers and all that kind of stuff, money that's flowing through. I do
Always.
wonder if Michigan being it keeps the what I should say, the excitement about the playoffs and those 4 teams. And hell, I mean, Colorado was at every pregame show for the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season, because that was a story. Now that Michigan is a story, it kind of brings a little bit more intrigue into
Program.
a program, or just a college football season that doesn't really have a dominant force, so to speak. Like Georgia doesn't look like they're 1,000 times better than anybody. Alabama's kind of came back to earth a little bit. And whatever you think about Ohio State, it doesn't seem like they're their most dominant team in the past. And, maybe Michigan is, I don't know, it just brings some intrigue to the storyline leading up into college football players and New Year's Day bowls and stuff like that. So maybe that's part of the reason why there's more PR around it, I guess. I don't know.
It's going to be interesting, right? And then it's like, then you'll have the people that'll say, is it fair for them to be in it? Like, should they be kicked out if this,
Yeah.
right? Like
to your point earlier, conversation.
So we'll see. Well, he did spend some time with the Raiders too. He was a quarterback coach for the Raiders early in his career. So there is some connection. We'll see.
There's a lot of people connected to a lot of different places.
So Teddy Bruschi was on record talking about how this is galvanizing the team, right? Like really pushing the team forward and giving them that motivation. If you want to talk about every season, us against the world, there's like even to game times, right? Like coaches would like try to motivate us, locker room talk, whatever.
Yeah.
And because as he said, he is him and his team are really known or have been around alleged kind of stealing, because hell, Belichick was in that sign stealing thing that I think that they got hit for, along with Deflategate and all the other things. Do you think this is enough to motivate them, right? Because it looks like, from Coach Moore's passionate talk and them, do you think this is enough to push them to a national championship?
It could be from an emotion standpoint. But we both know, man, like you can't consistently win games on emotion. You might be able to beat Penn State on just that raw emotion, but when football is a game of execution and discipline and consistency and the accountability, it's a lot of things that are outside of emotion. So if they're not, whether they fired up or not, if they're missing tackles and jumping off sides and passing interference or turning the ball over, they're not gonna win.
It's a wrap
anyway. So I don't know. I'm not with. Maybe I haven't been on successful teams like that. Galvanize around, do it for the coach or do it for the skipper. Like I don't know. It comes down to execution, whether you want to do it for somebody or not. To be honest.
Facts. So you think him and Cap are still cool?
I think so.
Yeah. He rode when he made a hell of a. That was a decision everybody was like, questioning, and he rode with him. So I was like, damn, I wonder if him and Kaepernick rap. Anyway, all right. So whether or not this is found guilty, they need to definitely watch out, because the one people they don't want to piss off is like my man Brett Mertzberger says, is our friends in the desert. So a lot of lines have moved, or there was kind of like some speculation. We were talking about this pre-show, like that. Vegas was kind of saying, maybe some of the lines are moving with some of these games and things like that. So you don't want to piss Vegas off as it started affecting the money bets, man. But it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out as they dig into it. But it's just funny how we always talk about, like, when stories are happening and evolving. Somehow,
Vegas has got to make its way. Vegas is on 1 million documentaries. To the end of time. So
when it pivots, right? Like that, then so there was in Vegas. It's like, oh shit.
Vegas 2019. Yep. Oh dang, what happened? Yep.
Well, that's all I got, man. Anything else for the people, man? Like, cause it's just gonna go round and it's, I don't want to say sad, but like you said, it's definitely turned into like this media thing where we're not talking about Georgia, right? We're not talking about, because Colorado's fallen off, so that's not the topic anymore. Caleb Williams is, out of the Heisman because the way the team's performing, so a back-to-back. So all of those narratives that they set, or the scripts that they set for college football is it's like, oh, well, let's dig up this, because and frankly, for it to be as elaborate as we all kind of think it is, this is not the first year this shit's been going on.
Oh, with Connor Stallions or whatever?
Well, just like what they think is going on, right? Like, so why does this pop up now, right? That's, I guess, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, man.
I don't know. I think the most impressive thing about this all, outside of counter-style is Excel spreadsheets, is the loyalty of the alumni base to Michigan. I mean, there's a lot of people that have associations with Michigan, from Rich Eisen to Desmond Howard, that have very public platforms. They
What's
are
the dude that Adam Scheffner? Didn't he
him
go
as
there? I
well,
think.
right? Yeah. So like, there's a lot of big voices in the sports media world that have some ties to Michigan or played at Michigan or whatever the case is, and it seems like all of them are riding hard with Michigan. So, shout out to the loyalty of the alumni base of the University of Michigan. It is quite impressive. There's nothing. People are not loyal in this generation. Everybody has their own opinion, and for everybody to be leaning on one side, I mean, that the unity in that is incredible to me. Incredible. So shout out to you, Michigan alumni. That is incredible.
Go blue.
Go blue. Top to bottom.
Top to bottom, right?
I mean, they must have all got the same. They must have all got the talking points, because they all consistently
across the board.
Their SID sent it to everybody. Hey, we're gonna send this information to everybody. I need everybody. If you say something, this is what you say. I don't know. They're really
bullet points. Not the SID. Not the SID though.
SID working hard, boy. He hitting that whole alumni database. Yeah, let's do that. But shout out to them for their consistency.
For sure. Well, we'll see how this all turns out, man. We'll see if they make that natty champion role. You're in this speculation portion where all these coaches are saying, like, Oregon coach was looked at someone to go to Texas. Deion was someone that was mentioned to go to Texas, and now Harbaugh is kind of getting thrown into that. And then, of course, it's going to continue once you get into the off season of the NFL, if he's going to get thrown in those kind of rings. And it's just something to, like, just to keep that energy. He's gotten some big recruits. I think that top quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks for 2025 is still with them. So the consistency.
Jordan Brand is attached to him.
Yeah.
Michigan is one of those programs in college football. So I get it. I mean, where do you go from Michigan as a college football coach, really? I mean, maybe A&M just because the money is crazy, but I'm sure the money is crazy at Michigan as well. So,
and the alumni, right? So
I'm talking about that alumni basis. On point.
On point. For sure. All right, man. Anything else for the people, man?
Nah, man. All good.
All right, man. I hope got a couple of things we want, man. So definitely digging into the legal point. If there's anything y'all want to share about the legal point of it, because those are definitely good things. And who you riding with? You believe that the Big Ten should still be on them like this, or do you think they're just out for a little bit of a witch hunt? Are the rules just not set, in clear enough navigation? Because there's other people that said, like, everybody's doing it, and just because everybody's doing it doesn't make us right. But definitely want to hear your comments. We're gonna bring this into the live show.
Get the green dot, Big Ten, the NCAA, and then we'll be all right. People go to elaborate things to keep these signals. I mean, I'm getting us off track, but when I went to the Colorado CSU game, man, I mean, that dude had a sheet over there. Had two dudes that was just holding the curtain over the dude. Yeah, just over dude calling the play. So, I mean, shout out to those Ray-Ban glasses. I'm not going that could really execute to selling those signs, because they go through an elaborate process to keep those signs under wraps. Different color polos, 18,000 people signaling things. There was an old school thing where they used to have Pizza Hut, Madonna, and some random pictures and stuff. It's going to be hard to steal signs. So shout out to the Ray-Ban glasses.
Well, that's all we got for you. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Please comment. And like I said, we're definitely going to be following this. It's definitely going to be a live show topic. But as always, please subscribe and follow us on YouTube, because if you see it, you can be it. And we drop new shows every Thursday, so definitely check those out on all your podcast platforms. Try to say that 5 times fast. And then, as we always say, please stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap.